Guess where I am? I'll give you one clue. I'm at Hollywood, baby. Right, so welcome back to the channel. So welcome to my very first travel lifestyle poker vlog. So I am currently in LA, Hollywood, and over the next 10 weeks I'm going to be traveling and playing poker and be doing my best to vlog as much of my stories and my travels and also my poker results. So the plan is to play some 5-5 at least for the first month, because I'm going to be here for like 10 weeks. And then hopefully I'd like to try to play some 5-10. So yeah, going to be documenting my travels to make it kind of like a fly on the wall type thing, so you guys can follow along and kind of to see kind of what things I get up to and how I get on in the poker sessions. But yeah, so that's enough of that now from me on the traveling side of things. So now I'm just going to dive into a recap of one of my 5-5 sessions at the Commerce earlier last week. Right guys, I'm just in the car outside the Commerce Casino, and just before about to start my session, just decided to get some lunch. I've got this lunch from Wabba Grill, which I'm actually really happy to have found because it really serves the kind of food that I like, and also not having to have to rely on hamburgers and fish, chips and corn dogs, hot dogs, fried chicken and burgers and stuff like that. You know, so this is actually pretty good. It's kind of clean, healthy, nutritious food, I guess, which is the kind of stuff that's right up my alley. So yeah, just gonna have this now, and then we're gonna head into the casino for another session. This is really good. Right guys, so we just moved on from the Hollywood sign, followed the Allen Getty Bridge Trail, and now we have arrived at the famous Wisdom Tree. What better place than to share some of my own wisdom in talking through some of these poker hands. Right, so diving into the action, there is a blind raise under the gun to $10, and I look down on the button with Ace Jack. So very 3-bettable hand. So I make it $30 on the button, and only the big blind and under the gun blind raiser calls. So 3 ways to the flop, and it comes Ace Jack. It comes Ace 6-4 2 spades, and I've got the Jack of spades. Action checks to me, so I think we have a pretty standard C bet here. So I bet $30, about 30% of the pot, and both players make the call. So just a little bit wary that on this kind of a board with the 6-4 of spades, it really hits the big blind range quite well. So, but because I mean these games play super passively, I don't really expect to even get a check raise with a hand as strong as a straight flush draw. So going on to the turn, that brings a 10 of spades, which completes the front door flush. Action checks to me, and I think this hand, I think we can go both ways. I think we can bet or we can check. I think especially with the Jack of spades, if we do check and then the river bricks out, I think this hand will call more often than folding had I not have a spade in my hand. So I decided to check back for some pot control. And on the river comes, I think it's just another brick, and now the big blind leads for a small sizing for like $55. Under the gun folds, and now I think we have a pretty crystal clear call. Don't see any value in raising at all here, as he's only going to ever have us beat, or he's just going to have air. So we flick in the call, and he shows 5-3 of hearts for a busted straight draw, and so we're going to take down this pot. So in the next hand, the action folds to the cutoff, who opens to, I think it was $20, and I look down on the button at 10-7 of diamonds. So we decide to flat on the button rather than 3-bet, and then I think both the blinds fold. So heads up to a flop that comes Jack 7 deuce with 1 diamond. So villain in the cutoff, he decides to c-bet for $30, And I think in this spot I kind of felt in game that he didn't really have a jack, and I felt he just had like a hand with a lot of equity, like a good flush draw. So with that in mind, I decided to make the call, especially with our 2-pair draw and backdoor flush and straight draws. So we make the call, and then the turn comes, I think the turn comes an offsuit 3 or a 5. Then villain decides to double barrel, but still betting quite small. He bets like $40. So for us, I think we still have a pretty clear call here, thinking that we are still ahead a large majority of the time. So we flick in the call and praying for no club. And then the river comes an offsuit 5. And now villain decides to slide in $125. So big bet. It kind of really sucks because I put him on a flush draw and I didn't want to kind of snap it off, because I was just thinking, well, what kind of straights does he have, or 2 pairs? And like you said, when he chooses this sizing, it just really confirms my read that he really doesn't have a jack. So I was struggling to see what kind of value hands he has in the spot, given that I think he has a busted flush draw. So as a non-believer, I decided to flick in the call, but unfortunately he shows us ace 4 of clubs for the busted flush draw, but he rivered the straight. So yeah, nice hand, sir. We're going to be losing this hand.
How you doing? Thanks.
Right, so in this next hand, the under the gun, who is a reasonably competent player, played with him for a couple of times now. He makes, so he opens under the gun for $25, and we look down in early position with ace king of spades. So we play I like to play a mixed strategy here between 3-betting and flatting. So this time I decided to go for just a call. The big blind comes along as well, so we're now 3 ways to the flop, and the flop comes king 8. Action checks to me, which is a bit of a shame. So now I decide to put in a small bet of $35. Big blind folds, and the undergun thinks for a little while, and then he decides to make the call. The turn card comes a queen. Not my favorite card, given villain can have a lot of queens in his range here. So we need to be a little bit mindful that we could be running into a cooler here, although of course we shouldn't expect to be running into that hand all that often. So villain checks to me, and I decide to be very sneaky here and check back and play my range, which looks a lot like middling pocket pairs rather than a king x. So I decide to check it back, and then on the river, which comes another brick, villain now decides to lead for $70. So right now I think that he does have a hand like, you know, my pocket eights, sorry, not pocket eights, like pocket nines, pocket tens, pocket jacks beat. So the kind of hand that I'm kind of putting him on at the spot is ace queen, probably make the most sense. But given the sizing he chose of just like $70, I'm kind of ruled out pocket queens. You know, I think if he was going to choose a much larger sizing, like a pot size and overbet, I think we'd only just be flat calling there, given we do lose to queens and king queen. But versus a small sizing, putting villain on exactly ace queen. So now we are definitely going to be putting in the raise. So the question now is just on sizing. So I think in game, I don't think I wanted to try and rep some kind of rivered weird full house. I didn't want to go for a very polarizing bet, especially as we do want to get called in the spot. So I decided to just raise it to 175. And now villain is now deep in the tank, and he's really confused about what we have in the spot. And to be fair, we wouldn't blame him. With the way we played our hand, we've played it really sneakily, and we've really disguised the strength of our hand. So after a little while, villain decides to flick in the call, and we show him the goods.
If you like the flap, yeah.
It's missing the ace. Yeah. Right, in this next hand, the under the gun limps in for $5, and we look down at 10-9 of diamonds. Very pretty, so definitely a hand that we want to be opening here. So we make it $20, and I think in hindsight it's probably a little bit too small, because small blind, big blind, and under the gun all make the call. So 4 ways to the flop. That comes 9, 6, 4, I think, 1 diamond. Action checks to me. I put in a small bet of $25. And now small blind min raises to $50. The big blind also decides to cold call the 50. Under the gun gets out the way, so action is now back on us. So given it's a min raise and we have position, we've got straight and flush draws, backdoor straight and flush draws, we're going to have to see a turn card here. So we flick in the call, and then the turn card brings I think just like another brick, and to my surprise small blind now decides to check. Very happy to see that. Big blind also checks, and so now action on us. I really don't think we have the best hand here, so don't really want to put any more money in here, especially when I do think we're going to be getting called. So we decide to check back, and the river is an interesting one. The river comes at 10. So now we improve to top 2 pair, but now straight now gets there with the 7. So now small blind checks again, and now big blind decides to lead out for $110. And now I'm not really happy with this situation. I think all of the kind of draws now complete, and I don't really see a villain leading with like a worse hand than us, like a medium kind of with like a 2 pair type hand, especially when, as played, you know, I have all the draws available here. So reluctantly we decide to make the fold, and small blind folds as well. So yeah, big blind's going to be taking down this pot. Alright, so moving right along to the next hand. The cutoff opens to $20. We look down at King Queen offsuit on the button, so we decide to re-raise to $65, and action then folds around to the cutoff, who thinks for a little while before then making the call. So heads up to the flop, and it comes 9-7x. Action checks to me, and I decide to just check back. On the turn is a very nice card for us to be betting on. It comes an ace. So he checks to me, and so we now have a very clear bluff here with King Queen in the spot as the pre-flop aggressor in a 3-bet pot. So I decide to bet $45. Don't need to bet too big here, I don't think, as a bluff, but unfortunately villain decides to call. Looking to barrel most river cards here as a bluff. However, the river then comes yet another ace. Then villain now checks to me, and I think I was going to be barreling most cards, but I think this is one card that I definitely don't like barreling on, because given now most of his continuing range on the turn, which consists of pocket pairs and ace-x, now both increase in value on the river. And it's going to be a lot harder now for us to get him to fold trip aces, and if he does have a pair, it's now much less likely that we ourselves have an ace. He checks to me, I just decide to check back and give up, and sure enough the villain shows ace jack for the winner. Right, so now after being card dead for now like an hour or 2 hours, players being busted left, right and centre, our game now breaks, and we've now moved on to a new table. So in this hand, I think under the gun limps, and we decide to raise up on the hijack with King 10 of diamonds to $25. And then button, small blind, big blind and under the gun calls. So we are now 5 ways to the flop, which comes pretty sweet for our hand actually. It comes ace, queen, deuce with 2 diamonds. So we flop ourselves a royal flush draw. Ashton checks to me, and with 4 other players in the hand and with the royal flush draw, we definitely want to be putting some money in here. We put in a bet of $45, the button calls and everyone else folds. So heads up to the turn, and it comes a brick. Action is now on us, and I think we do have a couple of options here. I don't think I would mind too much check jamming here, to be fair, with this much equity. But then on the other hand, given how passive a lot of these players are, I'm kind of also quite keen to put some more money in, given he has flush draws in his range as well, which won't be folding and also won't be betting either. So given we have the we've got the royal flush draw, I lean more towards betting here. So I decide on a value of $115, I think. and villain on the button decides to call. So you're gonna need some help here, I think. And so on the river comes a brick, which is sad times. And so now I think we beat all of his flush draws, obviously, with the king 10 of diamonds. I don't expect villain to be bluffing with these hands, and if he's got an ace, to be fair, you know, a lot of these guys actually love to call. So I decided to just shut it down and check. And villain snap checks back, and he shows ace 10 of spades. Right, so let's continue with some more pain, shall we? So in this hand, under the gun opens to $20, and we look down at pocket kings. Yeah, I promised you pain, and it's coming. So we 3-bet here to $65. Action folds back around to under the gun, who thinks for a little while. He starts quizzing, he starts questioning how much is in my stack, which is a good sign, especially when you have pocket kings.
You got almost
That's 200 though.
200, one stop.
That's less than 200.
Yeah, that's all.
But unfortunately, he then just decides to call, and the flop comes ace 6-3, 2 hearts. So obviously not the ideal flop when you have kings. Villain decides to start with a check, and I think we have a very standard check back here, especially with this guy. It can have a lot of ace-x in his range. So we decide to check back. The turn brings another heart, and I don't think we have a heart in our hand. Villain now checks twice, and I think in this spot now, I think I like putting a delay c-bet. Especially when he can also have pocket pairs with guts containing like a heart that we can get some more value from and slash deny some equity against. So we decide to delay c-bet to for $60, and villain decides to check call. So rush to the river, and now I'm praying no heart, no heart, no heart, and the river comes a heart. So villain actually starts tanking for a little while, and then he decides on another check. And I think with this hand, I don't think I want to turn this hand necessarily into a bluff. So we check back, and to my dismay, he tables pocket eights with the 8 of hearts for the rivered flush. Right guys, so we just wrapped up my session, played about just shy of 10 hours today. There's a lot of quite significant differences between the way poker is played back in England, where I'm from, and how it's played here in the States, or maybe I should say at least California. So one of the big differences that I've noticed is that it seems like in England we follow the rules so much more stringently, whereas in the States it's a lot more relaxed. You know, people can show other players like their cards, and you know, it doesn't matter. It's not like your hand's dead. There's no show one, show all. Yeah, you can make a mistake and then you can kind of just take it back. The dealer's pretty relaxed about how the players want to decide what to do when mistakes are made, for example. One of the difference in terms of how the game is played is about chopping when it comes to like small blind versus big blind. Now, having experienced it myself in terms of knowing, learning what the rake structure is, it actually does make a lot of sense to chop. But one thing that I really don't understand, which I've seen people do, is you got players that are limping in like under the gun or open limping on the button, and then you can also chop like multi-way. So the small blind can say, "Oh, do you guys want to chop?" And there's no cap on that. So I've been in a situation where there's 3 and even 4 players, and they just say, "Oh, do you want to chop?" And then they're all like, "Yeah." So the thing I don't get is, why would you open limp, for example, the button, for then the small blind and the big blind say, "Do you want to chop?" And the button says, "Yeah, sure, let's chop." So you put your $5 in, presumably you have a hand that you'd like to play in position, and then you just take your money back. And yeah, so that really baffles me. But yeah, anyhow, so that's it from me reporting after my Friday night session. I think that maybe after this I would go to a restaurant or go for some drinks, but unfortunately your boy is very tired, and I think I'm just going to be driving home and going to bed, unfortunately, as boring as that sounds. Yeah, so I'm just gonna head off home now. I'll catch you later. Right guys, just going to go for a meal at Lucille's Barbecue Smokehouse. It's going to be my first time going for an American meal, I guess, of barbecue and stuff like that. So yeah, it's got pretty good reviews, so I'm really looking forward to trying the food here. So yeah, let's here's to a good night. So we just ordered the baby back ribs. Asking about how large the portions are. I was thinking I could finish a whole rack of ribs by myself like I usually do in England. But when I asked how much was the whole rack of ribs, he was like... So I was like, yeah, let's just start with the half rack of ribs. Bon appetit. Baby back ribs are good. Good times. We left no prisoners. It was good. Right, so we just finished our meal at Lucille's Smokehouse Barbecue. Probably show you the sign right there. Yeah, very nice. Really enjoyed it. Definitely would consider coming back. So yeah, just going to head back now. It's just a nice leisurely 5-minute walk. I think we're just gonna chill out tonight. Bit of Netflix, get an early night in tonight, and get ready for a nice full week of grinding starting tomorrow. So yeah, I'll see you later. Right, so that concludes the session that we had, probably the worst session that we had of the week. I think we lost like $444. But even having said that, I'm actually up for the week about 1.1k. So very pleased. It's been a very solid start to the campaign. I'm going to be trying to post my results every week in all the videos that I post on YouTube, so that you guys can kind of follow along with my results and also with my travel expeditions. So that's it from me for now. Just going to try and absorb the scenery and the sunshine, yeah, as much as I can while I can, before I have to head back to London to rain, clouds and dull cold weather. Until next time, peace.